So if you liked Last Christmas, but you were hoping it would be maybe just a tad bit happier, have I got the movie for you? Tastes like the world's best cup of coffee. So, Elf is a movie that took Christmas movies by storm. It's arguably not a traditional romantic comedy in a lot of ways. It's a comedy. It's a kids movie. Like the things that are most quoted about it and discussed every year in memes and t-shirts and watch-alongs tends to be the same 5 jokes that are funny and absurd and that sort of thing, which are funny in their absurdity and the unexpectedness of like the first time, and admittedly funny the second or third time around. But the spaghetti scene is not the only funny or good or valuable part in the movie Elf, despite what some people might have you believe. Santa! I know him! When we're talking about setting or location in Elf, it's pretty obvious. First, we get the North Pole, which is a claymation-esque landscape that is basically like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of landscape. And what was that other stop-motion movie I never saw? The evil-looking elf with the pointy nose? I'm not sure. But basically, yeah, and I don't know. I love the aesthetic of it, and I love the adorable setting and the Arctic puppets and the way that it's kind of like an IKEA, like cutesy land for the elves, and Will Ferrell just towering over all of them and obviously not quite fitting in as little Buddy Diapers, the giant elf in the North Pole, but how much his father loves him and how much the other elves, I wouldn't say hate him, but how they're trying to make him fit and they just don't know what to do with him.
Why weren't you at elf practice?
Then it becomes this kind of quest for Buddy to find himself and to find like his past and his history. So we go from that setting and that cutesy G-rated world to Buddy miraculously finding his way to New York unscathed. But yeah, the land of NYC and modernity and unkindness and people who have no idea what to do with this giant elf man who acts like a stunted 13-year-old boy. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like Big, or another one of those kinds of 13 going on 30-esque movies where you have a man-child or woman-child in a adult body, and except I think it manages to avoid any of the potential creepiness that could have come with those types of movies, and that like he's not a child in an adult body, so you don't have to avoid any romantic relationships or whatever in a way that Big or 13 going on 30 perhaps should have to walk that line there. There's no like potential issues there. Then there's the meet-cute. As Buddy ends up finding his father as he had hoped, his father wants nothing to do with him, doesn't believe him, all of these things. And so Buddy is like trying to find where can be the most wonderful Christmas like space, the place that he would relate to, that would remind him of home. And he finds Harrods, which is a massive toy store in NYC, and that is about as close as he's going to get to what his home would be like. Another, Santa's workshop kind of vibe. And as he's looking around in the children's section and trying to figure out what his next step should be, he looks up and sees a beautiful woman dressed as an elf, just as she's plugging in something or setting an ornament and the light goes on. It's like a light bulb over his head of, oh, who's that? As you could imagine, coming from a land where he is at least twice as tall as everyone else there and doesn't fit in and is just having a difficult time finding an elf that's beautiful and is about around the same size as him and feels like someone who would be kind of like that bridge between human and elf, which is where he feels is like my soulmate. There she is, decorating for Christmas like I would want to do. Where she's like, why are you messing with me? Because he's complimenting her on her tree decorating skills. And he's like, I'm not messing with you. I'm just happy to meet another human with my affinity for elf culture. And she's naturally skeptical of his wide-eyed innocence, assuming he's just being a jackass, like that he's just teasing her. But that's just Buddy. And he is truly charmed by her, and it's adorable. Upon finding out that Santa is apparently coming the next day, Buddy is trying to continue to have this conversation with Jovi, excited about his coming, and Jovi is still very wary of him and is like, can you cut it out? Can you stop talking to me? And he's like, uh-oh, seems like someone needs to sing a Christmas carol. And she's like, I don't sing. He's like, what? Of course you do. She's like, well, I can sing, but I don't in front of other people. And it just becomes this kind of little thing between them where she just assumes, of course, that he is just taking the piss out of her. But she has as of yet to realize how earnest he really is. But it becomes something more. The relationship's pretty cute as far as chemistry goes. It's a little bit slow building because, again, she's very cynical and he is the opposite of cynical. Also, it would be pretty hard to have a straight up relationship that doesn't feel like a kindergarten level relationship with him in some ways, because he just is so earnest about things and so simple about things that, like, in a lot of ways it feels like he just has a lot of growing up to do very quickly. Like, he was treated like a kid or a teenager for a long time, and so he just has a lot of maturing to do. But at the same time, he's able to bring out some of, like, the more idealistic, romantic, and, you know, childlike qualities that have been buried deep within Jovi, as she's working long hours at a Christmas shop during the Christmas season, dressed like an elf, and doesn't have time for any of this. And yet he's able to help make the Christmas season special and magical for her again. On their first date, they go and get some of the world's best cup of coffee together. And she's like, this is crap. And, like, she's just still very hesitant about the whole thing and is like, you know, keeping him at an arm's distance a little bit. Oh, and when he first sees her and he's like, you look like a miracle. She's like, thanks, so do you. But, like, the more he shows her things fully in earnest, like, you know, look at this Christmas tree, look at this, look at that, the more she begins to see, like, this is like the real deal, like, this is just who he is. And she begins to lighten up and have fun and show him things that he hasn't seen, like Rockefeller Square, and it's just really delightful. So what keeps them apart? As far as problems go, it goes back to the maturity thing. Jovi is, again, she's wary of him because of his lack of maturity and her own cynicism, and she's kind of expecting that, you know, that he's putting up an act, or that this is a front for something else, or at least that he hasn't had a relationship before, which that is certainly true. For him, as he's falling in love with Jovi, he's also trying to make this connection with his family work. Like, he has his father and his new potential stepmother and stepbrother, and these are people he's never seen, and he's trying to have an actual connection with them, and everyone is kind of holding him at arm's length. A lot of it really has to do with Buddy and his own ability to either assimilate into human culture in New York or to help other people come into his own affinity for elf culture, or to like spread elf culture or Christmas spirit and see if like some of that sticks. Like there has to be like some sort of common ground. Well, as far as pining goes, I'd say Buddy pines over Jovi for a fair bit of the movie, but it's not like sad, yearning kind of pining. It's more just that he's in awe of how beautiful and amazing and she is, even though she would be like, I don't see what you're talking about. Like he's just in awe of her. I don't think she pines that much, though by the end of the movie she's definitely like a lot more in Hitch when they talk about like you take it like 75 and she'll meet you the rest of the 25 or something like that. He's basically done that for her for most of the movie, and she's like, like she's kind of hesitant, but she finally like meets him the rest of the way. Especially like towards the end of the movie, it's not really a romantic scene when they have to sing Christmas carols in order to help bring the Christmas spirit up for Santa. I know this sounds crazy. Yeah. That just sounds... Anyways, yeah, when they need to sing Christmas carols, which is something, as we've already stated, she is very embarrassed and shy about. And earlier, when Buddy was caught listening in on her singing in the shower...
The neighbors might think, say, what's in this drink? I really can't stay. Baby, it's cold outside.
I mean, if she's too shy to even sing in front of him, being in the shower aside, all of that, that's totally different. Especially when she didn't invite him in, obviously. Like, the fact that she's going to start singing in public, in a crowd, is totally terrifying for her, but she still takes that risk and starts to kind of help bring other people into the spirit as well.
He's making a list, checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty and nice. You better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
By the way, though, their Baby It's Cold Outside is so cute and sweet, and I think the fact that we don't have an actual recording of Will Ferrell and Zooey Deschanel singing that is a crime. Like, I know Will Ferrell's not a singer, but like...
I ought to say no,
Mind if I move in?
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
What's the sense of hurting my friend?
So as far as the wise old man figure, we get Buddy's adoptive father, Papa Elf. Papa Elf is a sweet old man who never really had a family, and who is the one who gets to adopt Buddy when Santa finds the orphan in his bag of presents. And even though Buddy is quickly much bigger than any of the other elf children, and then any of the other elves at all, he loves him like his own son and does his best to help Buddy feel like a part of the community, even when nobody else is even remotely trying. He goes as far as to try to hide it from Buddy that he's human, to protect him. But finally, he realizes that this isn't working out, and he tells him the truth and helps him go find his birth parents. Unfortunately, by this point, Buddy's mother has passed away, but he's able to find his father through that. And he's really sweet. And basically, he's the one who starts the whole movie and the mission and his goal of his real dad. Although his real dad is very different from Papa Elf, and we'll get to him in a second. Best friend / kid factor, I think, could kind of overlap, because Buddy meets his stepbrother. Michael is an 11-year-old boy who basically has the same kind of mindset or emotional maturity as Buddy, and they get off really well. And Michael and Buddy are able to kind of help each other out and feel more like of the Christmas spirit or feel more at home and all of those things. And it's really adorable as you see them like bond, doing snowball fights and looking around for Christmas. And Michael's actually the one that helps Buddy ask Jovi out, like he's his wingman, this little 11-year-old boy, because he can pick up like what Buddy's putting down, or at least the fact that Buddy has a huge crush on Jovi, but he would never even know what to do. He helps him ask her out, and he's the one who helps look for Buddy when Buddy goes missing, and who helps the father realize what he's missing out on and how he's not been as good of a father. And that brings us to the father figure and the mother. Father and his stepmother are funny characters. His stepmother is a lot more accepting of Buddy for being an adult man-child who dresses like an elf all the time and wants to decorate their whole house into a winter wonderland out of stuff they had lying around, and probably thinks that Buddy has some mental and emotional issues, which honestly he probably does to an extent, but at the same time, yeah, she's just generally more accepting and kind of reminds me a little bit of Faye from What About Bob.
Mm. 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 Faye, this is so scrumptious. Is this hand shucked?
Mm-hmm. Would you like some more chicken, Bob?
Now that's a movie, not a romantic comedy at all, but if you haven't seen What About Bob, go see it. It'll drive you crazy, but it's worth it.
Will you stop that, please?
But meanwhile, his dad is on the naughty list. Dun dun dun. He's become selfish and kind of has lost sight about why he works so hard, like for his family, and is just a little bit greedy and is in the children's publishing industry, but doesn't really care about children and is just trying to do it for the money, and basically is supposed to be the foil or the opposite character, really, in a way that Jovi isn't, in just being this grump, cynic. I mean, it's funny to see them in contrast with one another, and to see how he begins to soften and realize how much his son means to him and how much he's missed out on and how he wants to change. So for that compromise, that meet in the middle, I would say that that happens for basically everyone. His family, Jovi, the world in a lot of ways. So yes, there definitely are some compromises that are made. By the end of it, we see that Buddy and Jovi end up together and that they have a kid and that they visit Papa Elf in the North Pole, that Buddy has made huge strides to be able to make it work in the real world in New York, but Jovi is also taken her own huge strides in order to like see what his side of the family is like and see what elf culture is like and what Christmas could be like as they like unite. And Buddy becomes a children's book author. So cute. A lot of that kind of mixes with the make better thing. I mean, the most obvious to me would be that Buddy, of course, makes most of the people he meets better, and that he helps them see, like, the childish wonder in Christmas or in everything that a lot of people have forgotten as they've gotten older and more cynical, that you can be grateful for, like, everything in your life, like, that, like, as something as simple as a cup of coffee or it's snowing outside, you know, just having somebody, like, sing you a song or say hello to you or smile at you could be like such a wonderful thing, and that he's just like overwhelmed by joy, or like that he hasn't let himself become hardened by the world because his world has been completely different, and that he experiences things in a different way, and that has helped other people begin to experience the world in a more positive way as well. The rest of his family, his human family, are there for the practical things. Like, they're definitely gonna help make sure he doesn't like starve to death or like end up getting beaten up or homeless or any of those things, because yeah, he needs some people who have a different Myers-Briggs than him. Like, boy, before he gets taken advantage of, you know what I'm saying? So, satisfying ending. To me, it's very satisfying. It's kind of adorable to see that they get married and have a baby. You assume it's sometime in the future that they get to have that future together, and that Buddy is able to tell his own story, and that, you know, he gets along so well with kids, and that he has a child's mindset. So of course he would be able to help write more children's stories, and that of course he would be able to help his father's business, and his father strikes out on his own to become an independent publisher, that they're going to be like a family business now, and that Jovi's going to be a part of it, and they're all a part of it. And yeah, it's really heartwarming and sweet. It's just a really good Christmas movie. It's over the top and silly and great for kids and people of all ages. And yeah, I love Elf. I really want to see Elf on Broadway. Like, am I the only... I mean, come on. How cute would that be? I know it's there. I want to see it. If you have any other Christmas rom-coms that you think I should cover, let me know in the comments down below. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and like and subscribe. Do those YouTube-y things. And I'll see you real soon.
Best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
I really can't stay, baby, it's cold outside. I gotta get away, baby, it's cold outside. The welcome has been so very nice. I'll take your hands, they're cold as ice. I ought to say no, 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 sir. Mind if I scooch in closer? At least that I can say that I tried. What's the sense of hurting my pride? Really can't stay, but baby, it's cold outside.